Welcome to this explainer on job costing. I'm thrilled you're here today because we're going to be building a custom job completely from scratch to really unlock the mechanics of tracking unique costs. Whether you're looking at a custom engineering firm, a bespoke furniture manufacturer, construction projects, or even professional services, understanding how to pinpoint the exact costs for one-off projects is literally an absolute game changer. Here is our blueprint for today. We're going to start with what defines a unique job, then walk through the job cost card, overheads, over and under absorption, pricing strategies, and finally, wrap up with some tricky exam pitfalls you'll definitely want to avoid. Let's get right into it.
All right, Section 1. What exactly is job costing?
At its core, job costing is a cost accumulation system designed specifically for unique bespoke projects. Think about a custom furniture maker who just got an order for 20 bespoke dining chairs for a boutique hotel, or maybe an engineering firm building a highly specialized machine. Because the production is completely customer-specific, no two jobs are identical. So every single job becomes its own unique, individually trackable cost object with a very clearly defined start and finish. To really grasp why this individual tracking is so necessary, just look at the contrast between job costing and process costing. Process costing is used for continuous, repetitive production, like oil refining or chemical manufacturing, where you're mass tracking thousands of identical units and just averaging out the costs. But if you're building bespoke dining chairs, you absolutely cannot just average your costs out. You need to know exactly what that specific job cost you to make sure you're actually turning a profit.
Moving right along to Section 2, the job cost card.
So how do we actually track these unique costs? Well, it's all about the job cost card. This document accumulates every single cost charged to a specific job, built line by line. We start by adding up our direct materials, direct labor, and any direct expenses to get our prime cost. Next, we absorb production overheads to find our production cost, and then add selling, distribution, and admin overheads to reach the total cost. Finally, we tack on our desired profit to figure out the selling price.
The very second a custom order comes in, a blank canvas is opened with a unique job number. From that exact start date all the way to completion, we are meticulously tracking every single piece of timber, every drop of varnish, and every single hour of carpentry.
That brings us to Section 3, overhead rates. Direct costs are easy, but what about the rest?
This is actually a major hurdle. Indirect costs, things like factory rent, machine depreciation, supervisor salaries, insurance, utilities, they can't be traced directly to our custom chairs. A supervisor oversees the whole factory, not just one order. So these indirect costs get collected into pools called overhead cost centers before they're shared out across the various jobs happening on the floor.
To share these indirect costs fairly, we use a mechanism called the Overhead Absorption Rate, or OAR. The math here is actually pretty straightforward. Just take your budgeted overhead and divide it by your budgeted activity level. You just have to pick the right base. If your factory is super labor-intensive, you'd use direct labor hours. If it's highly automated, you're going to want to use machine hours.
Let's look at some actual numbers. Say our budgeted overhead for the whole factory this period is £180,000. And since we make custom furniture, we're very labor-intensive, expecting 15,000 direct labor hours in total. We divide £180,000 by 15,000 hours, and boom! Our calculated OAR is £12 for every direct labor hour worked. So we'll charge £12 of factory overhead to a job for every hour a carpenter spends on it.
Let's apply this to a complete job. We trace 1,600 pounds in direct materials. Our carpenters worked 65 hours, which cost us 1,200 pounds in direct labor. Now for the overhead magic. We take those 65 actual hours, multiply them by our $12 OAR, and absorb 780 pounds of production overhead into this job. Add all that up, and we have a total job cost of $3,580. See, every unique job gets its fair share of the factory costs.
All right, Section 4, absorption. Let's talk about what happens when reality hits.
This quote really hits the nail on the head because OAR is predetermined, over or under absorption almost always results. Remember, we calculated that 12-pound rate at the start of the year using estimates. But what happens at the end of the year when the actual electricity and rent bills arrive? You guessed it, they almost never match the budget perfectly.
Here's exactly how we handle that. If the total overhead we charged or absorbed into our jobs over the year is greater than the actual bills we incurred, we have overabsorption. Basically, we overcharged our jobs. So we have to add that difference back to our profit. Conversely, if we absorbed less than the actual bills, it's under absorption. We didn't charge our jobs enough, and we need to deduct that difference from our profit.
Section 5. Pricing and Profit.
Now that we know our total costs, how do we price the job? Well, cost plus pricing is standard. Take your total estimated cost and add a profit percentage. Or if the market sets your selling price, you'd use target pricing and check your cost card just to make sure you're profitable. But listen, if you are using cost plus, do not mix up your formulas. Markup expresses your profit as the percentage of your total job cost. Margin expresses your profit as a percentage of your selling price. Mathematically, they are very different animals.
Let me prove it to you. Imagine a job costing £1,078 that we sell for £1,400. That's a flat gross profit of £322. If we divide that £322 by our £1,078 cost, we get a 29.9% markup. But divide that exact same profit by our £1,400 selling price, and it's a 23% margin. It's the exact same amount of money, but vastly different percentages depending on what you're anchoring to.
Bringing it back to our custom furniture job from earlier, we had a total job cost of £3,580. Let's say we agree on a selling price of £4,500 with the client. Subtracting our cost from our selling price, we secure a really healthy gross profit of £920. Divide that $920 profit by the $4,500 selling price, multiplied by 100, and we've got a solid 20.4% gross profit margin on this bespoke order.
Finally, Section 6. Exam Pitfalls. Let's do a quick inspection to make sure you ace this material.
Watch out for these classic traps. First, always match your OAR base to your environment. Please don't use machine hours for a hand-carved furniture shop. Second, as we just saw, never confuse your margin and markup formulas. Third, meticulously follow the cost card steps so you don't accidentally leave out overheads. And finally, always accurately calculate your over or under absorption, and critically, do not forget to adjust your final profit statement for those differences.
To wrap up today's explainer, I want to leave you with a quick thought exercise. If activity levels unexpectedly drop, resulting in far fewer labor hours worked than you originally budgeted for, how is that going to impact the overheads absorbed into your unique jobs? Are you going to end up overabsorbed or underabsorbed? Think through that formula and consider how that reality is ultimately going to impact your bottom line. Thanks so much for joining me today, and keep tracking those costs.